The people who walk in darkness have seen a great light. Jesus Christ is born. Today, on this Sacrament Christmas Day, we celebrate the light that comes into the world, the light that enlightens our life and our heart, that gives meaning and purpose to our life. Merry Christmas to all of you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lord be with you. This is our third Christmas Mass. Yesterday at 5:30 p.m. we have our first Catholic service. And after that, 6 p.m. our first Sunday, our first Christmas Mass, the Mission Mass. And I was so happy because this church was fully packed as never before, with families and hundreds of children Gospel of John, the fourth Gospel. This prologue of the Gospel of John is so beautiful. The Word was made flesh. He came to his own, and his own didn't accept him. But those who truly accept him have the power to become children of God and receive grace after grace. And we are here at the end of our Advent journey, and I think that if you have done properly this Advent journey, you can feel at this very moment grace after grace. Are you feeling the grace at this very moment? Once I heard Cardinal John Patrick O'Malley, who was the Cardinal of Boston. Now he is in the Vatican as the prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And Cardinal David John O'Malley was in Boston telling his people, his archdiocese, because he is from Irish background, one of the oldest Irish Christian Christmas customs. And I heard him saying that one of the oldest Irish Christmas custom has been to put a candle in the window on Christmas Eve. I guess that many of you are from Irish background. And raise your hand, those who are from Irish background. Yes, there's many. Oh, look at the Patsy, Declan, John, Billy, they come from Wigan. Raise your hand again, those who are from Irish background. Tell me if it is true that you put a candle in the window at home on Christmas Eve. Do you do that? Yes? And you know why you do that? She doesn't know. And those who do that, do you know why? Yes, Billy? Thank you, Billy. And I heard Cardinal John Patrick O'Malley in Boston saying the purpose of the candle was to let Mary and Joseph know that they would be very welcome in that home. And during the time of persecution, during penal time, it was a sign that a priest who was in hiding could come and celebrate the Mass in that house, obviously clandestinely. Part of the custom is that the youngest child in the family lights the candle, and some member of the family by the name of Mary has to be one to extinguish it. Now, in most Irish families, there's no shortage of Marys, and like Mary Louise, Mary Helen, Mary Elizabeth, Mary Ann, there's no shortage of Mary. So there's always somebody to extinguish the candle. And I heard Cardinal O'Malley saying, you know why the Irish still do that? Because he said, we want to remove the no vacancy sign and put the candle to welcome. 100,000 welcomes to our God. In another place of the world, not in this country, a few years ago, in one of the parishes. They were planning a Christmas pageant, and the children in the religious education program were the participants in this pageant. It was not a statues I would have here in the front. It was real people acting out the Christmas story. And children, even adults, were practicing for a long time to do it properly. And there was a lad named Billy, a child who had Down syndrome. And Billy was asked to be the innkeeper. So Billy practiced his lines for weeks, all day long. Billy was walking in the house, there's no room in the inn. The following day, people saw Billy walking in the street, there's no room in the inn. For weeks, because he had to say only that in this Christmas pageant, but he wanted to do it properly. And in the night of the pageant, Billy arrived at the parish auditorium, and the parish auditorium was packed with people, and the play begins. Mary and Joseph walking to the door and knocking the door, and Billy shouted out, "There's no room in the inn." And Mary and Joseph walked sadly away. And suddenly Billy, overcome with regret, shouts out, "But you guys can stay at my home." That was Billy out of the script, out of the lines. And you guys can stay at my house. And today's Gospel contains the almost casual remark that there was no room for the Holy Family in the inn. Inevitably, the question arises, what would happen if Mary and Joseph were to knock at my door? Would there be room for them? And then it occurs to me that today's Christmas Day Gospel reading, taken from the fourth Gospel of St. John, and St. John takes up this very chance comment about a lack of room in the inn. The way that the fourth Gospel put that is, he came to his own, and his own received him not. He came to his own, and his own received him not. The great moral question now is, do we receive Jesus Christ at home? During this Advent, there was a campaign to put Jesus back into Christmas, to have a crib at home, and at the end of this Mass, I will bless those cribs which you have brought today for blessing. But there is a social, moral issue today. The Holy Family was a refugee family. They have to emigrate to Egypt immediately because King Herod wanted to kill the baby. How many refugees family today? How many homeless? How many poor knocking the door at our house? Is there room in the inn for Jesus today? Do we really have room for God when He seeks to enter under our roof? Do we have time for God?
Do we have a space for God? Or do we actually turn God away? Yesterday and today, I'm seeing many faces that for different reasons, I haven't seen for ages. Midnight Mass, Melfield, who was a Eucharistic minister and moved to the city center and is very committed because he's doing postgraduate studies, working hard. And he said, Father, you don't know how sorry I am that I'm not able to travel all the way to Blessed Sacrament. But the whole family came last night, and they were so happy. And I'm so happy because I see faces that I haven't seen for ages. Another Eucharistic minister, Jamie. Jamie, you are with us. Stand up, Jamie. This is Jamie. He's a young lad who has lapsed from church for different reasons, but you are here today. And that's great, Jamie. And so many of you, people who travel long distances, like families who come from far to celebrate with us. And they take their time. Every week, for instance, the O'Donnell travel from Wigan, 20 minutes, half an hour to come here because they feel comfortable with us. They have time for God. They don't turn God away from their lives. Now, the faster we can move and the more efficient our time-saving appliances become, the less time we seem to have. If you ask people, why don't you usually go to church? Oh, Father, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Why are so busy? The faster we can move and the more efficient our time-saving appliances become, the less time we have. And the question sometimes seems less urgent. Our time is already completed for so many things. But at Christmas time, we are reminded that God keeps knocking at our door. He keeps knocking and knocking. And Billy, the lad of the play, like Billy, we need to invite God into our heart, into our home, even when we have to go far from the script, from the lines. Then Christmas becomes real when we begin to make time and a space for God in our lives. Once Steven Spielberg was being interviewed on a TV program called Inside the Actors Stadium, and the interviewer asked Steven Spielberg a very surprising question. He asked, Steven, what would you hope that God will say to you when you finally meet him? And Spielberg, far from within, smiled, and he replied, I hope God would say to me, thank you for listening. What a great answer. Thank you for listening. And it's certainly true about the Christmas story. Everybody has heard the Christmas story. But how many are really listening? That's the question. At the Annunciation, Mary hears the announcement of the angel, and she was listening. You know why? Because she answered, be done to me according to the word. And in today's gospel, the shepherds who are walking in darkness, they see the light and they are listening. When the angels announced the great news of great joy, They were listening. And 2,000 years later, we confront this stunning message of the Christmas story, giving us comfort and joy. God is with us. He has come into our lives. The people who have walked in darkness have seen the great light. And this is good news. This is the good news the world has been waiting for. Are we paying attention? The shepherds not only listened, but they also shared with others that great news. Are we sharing with others the great news, the good news? They became messengers of joy. Are we messengers of joy in our family, in our community? And we can say to them, the shepherd, Mary, Joseph, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing. And those of you who have children, I urge you to take them to the crib after Mass. Show them Bethlehem, talk to them about the Christmas story, because it's our story. It's the story of love in our world and in our lives. And out of that love story, comes discipleship. Pope Francis and his spectacular message on the joy of the gospel talks about true faith in Christ's incarnation. And Pope Francis said, faith in this Christmas mystery is inseparable from self-giving, from membership in the community, from service and from reconciliation. If we remember these four things, faith in this Christmas mystery is inseparable from, can you repeat after me? Self-giving, aloud. Membership in the community. Service. Reconciliation. If we take home these four attitudes and apply everywhere we go, everywhere we stay, we are living again and again the Christmas story. We are messengers of joy. We are listening and sharing the joy of the Incarnation. And this is the great lesson. Christmas needs to be communicated. What a great Christmas message if we take home these four attitudes. And thanks for listening.
I In a similar way, when someone was sent, he took the child, and once more in faith, gave his disciples, saying, "Take all and read for this is the charge of my blood of the new and eternal God, which will be poured out for your forgiveness of the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of there is the offering. Therefore, as we celebrate the memorial of his death and resurrection, we offer to God the bread and blood and the chalice of salvation, giving thanks that you have felt at work in your presence and minister to you. Humbly we pray that our name of the body and the blood of Christ, we may be gathered in one by the Holy Spirit. Remember, Lord, your church, and all who have died in your lives. Welcome into the life of your faith. Have mercy on us all, we pray, that with the resurrection of Mary, Mother of God, Saint Joseph, his father, the blessed apostles, and all the saints who have listened throughout the ages, may we merit people of heaven in eternal life, and may praise and glorify through the Son of Jesus. Christ. dead. Grant, O merciful Lord, that just as the Saviour of the world was born this day is the author of divine generation for us, so we may be the giver even of immortality, who lives and reigns forever. Amen. We have a special blessing today for Christmas Day. And those who have brought the gift we bless on Christmas Day, please praise your nativity. Those who have the nativity, please raise up. The Lord be with you. May the God of infinite goodness, who by the incarnation of his Son has driven darkness from the world, and by the glorious birth has illuminated this most holy day, drive far from you the darkness of eyes, and light your heart with the light of virtue. Amen. May God will that the great joy of his Son's saving birth be announced to shepherds by the angel. Fill your mind with the gladness he gives, and make you herald of his gospel. Amen. Amen, God, who by the incarnation brought together the earthly and heavenly reality, fill you with the gift of his peace and faith, and make you sharers with the church